Nobody's coming in here to save your life. If you don't speak their language, then you won't know what they're doing and you won't be able to lead them properly. So I feel very, very strongly that it's very important to know as much about your business as you possibly can. Are you going to call me a digital expert? Absolutely not. Digital marketing is very complicated, but absolutely I want to be on those calls. And I definitely know the small nuances that make a difference in that world. As I do, as I said, in formulation, I know about ingredients, I know about trends. So my scientists are not just coming to me because they're scientists, right? They don't know consumer behavior. So I know what consumers want. You need to be involved in every aspect of your business to know your business, but you can't micromanage.
Hello, and welcome to the next episode of the Beauty and the Brand podcast. I'm here with Dimitra Davidson. She is the visionary Canadian entrepreneur and the co-founder of Indeed Labs, a globally recognized skincare brand of 15 years known for its innovative science-backed formulations. She has a background in finance and luxury retail. She has leveraged her expertise to disrupt the beauty industry, launching groundbreaking products like pH in Skin, the world's first microbiome-certified Acne brand, which I'm so excited. I was doing all this digging on, I was looking at the TikTok videos and I was like, oh my God, yes, we need this. And she's redefining beauty standards and mentoring future leaders. So super excited to have you on here and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Yes, welcome. So I have so many questions, but let's start with your background because I want to learn more about your career, your backgrounds. You have so many twists and turns along your journey from finance and banking to retail and now beauty entrepreneurship. Walk me through that process and what was that moment that you eventually led you to start something of your own?
Yeah. Thank you. Wow, you know what? You're right. There have been a lot of twists and turns in my life and in my career. I think I didn't expect to end up here per se. However, I think instinctively, I always knew at a young age that I was going to eventually be steering my own ship, so to speak. So I always thought that being a female entrepreneur, I think was a goal of mine, although I didn't know I'd end up in skincare. And so I started with a background in finance. I basically just started where I thought I was more skilled, where I was stronger. I was good in math. I was good in accounting. I decided to have a background in finance. I had an interest in it. Realize now that it serves me so well as a business owner to have financial literacy. It's such, for me, it's such a key, element, especially in a very competitive industry that we're in, where we're constantly having to reinvest in our business.
Absolutely.
So I started off in finance, but I thought I was going to be a chartered accountant. I realized that I wanted to do something more colorful. And then eventually I graduated from university. I started working in finance, in the banking world. I was going to be a stockbroker. I was a young mom. I made a career switch into luxury goods retail. I ran a corporate sales for Tiffany Company Canada for 9 years. And I always wanted to advance. I think I've always been the kind of person that wants to learn and continue to grow. And I always knew that I wanted eventually to do my own thing. So I just looked at where my skills were strongest. I had a background in finance. I was really good with people. So I started doing some consulting work. I started helping companies, small to medium-sized companies, helping them scale up. So I had a good foundation as a business, starting out as a business owner because I was helping other people do that. I just never expected to be here. And it was just all of those learnings along the way. And this is one of the messages I think that most resonates with people that hear me speak. I never made an ultimate plan. I had a goal. I've always had a dream. I've always known where I want to be. And even financially, I've always wanted to hit financial benchmarks. Always drivers for me. When I was employed by someone else, I always knew, well, I'll be happy when I earn this income. So I work toward that income. And, in my business, well, I'll be happy when we reach this benchmark. So I've always been a planner. I've always set goals for myself, but they've been, sort of short term and long term. And then when I get to a place, as we all do, when you're in that fork in the road, you're standing there, that's when I think those were the pivotal moments where I've had to make decisions and really take a risk. And those are the moments that have driven me in a different direction.
Interesting. You mentioned that you were consulting with different businesses. small to medium size, now looking back, knowing what you know, what do you feel has made it or broken a brand or business from making it? Like, what was it about, or what is it about a business that ultimately allows it to succeed?
Yeah. There's a few things. Number one, really building your foundation. I think we talk about business plans all the time. It is so essential. It's so important. Who's your management team? Where's your funding going to come from? Who are your customers? Really understanding the planning, the pre-planning in everything we do in our business is so incredibly important. Because once you actually sit down to do the work, that's sort of the easy part. That's when you kick into gear, but it's knowing what you have to do that's really important. And that's where there's a lot of misses for people. I think not being organized and not planning. You have to have an element of risk, but again, knowing your circumstances. So there is a point where you get to that, and we talk about this a lot, the analysis paralysis. Now you're overthinking. There's a balance of planning, there's a balance of knowing what direction you're going to go in, because everybody, we all have ideas. Like people have all kinds of great ideas, but then they don't get kickstarted.
It's the execution. Yes.
So there's an element of risk where you got to let go and go, okay, I know what I need to know now. I can't overanalyze either. So it's a balance of analysis, understanding where your circumstances are, knowing all the variables and all the implications, and then being able to just say, okay, I've got to go. I've got to just take a chance. So I think it's a combination of those two.
And what's your process for risk? Because you've mentioned risk a couple of times, and I'm listening and I'm wondering, because I see some people take reckless risk. I actually see that less so in our community. I see more the other side of it, where I see a lot of our founders not taking enough of a risk or not putting themselves out there. And then, of course, I see a little bit of the flip side of like kind of putting yourself out there, taking risks, but not being calculated about those risks. So talk to me about your process around risk.
I really trust my gut instinct. Being a risk taker oftentimes can be a very lonely place. You have to convince people, especially if there are people funding your business. You might have a board to speak to, that your crazy idea is not so crazy, right? So it can be a lonely place. Again, my process really is, I am the kind of, I'm extremely thorough. So I do consider myself an industry expert now. I know so much about this business, right from the formulations and ingredients to trends in the market to consumer behaviors. But I've had to learn along the way. And it's through that deep understanding that you can actually then really gauge, is this something that I think is going to happen? Is it going to be real, or is it just a feeling I have?
Yes.
So when I get that very strong instinct, I just go for it. And like I said, it's a lonely place, but you just got to do it. You just have to just do it. And you've got to know of course it's going to be calculated. I know what the implications are if this doesn't work out. And then the bigger part of that is when it doesn't go as planned, because it doesn't always, like that, you need to know. You can throw 10 things at the wall and one of them is going to stick.
Right.
Which is very unnerving, but you need to have a backup plan. If this doesn't work, how am I going to fund my business after this? If this doesn't work with this customer, who am I going to go for after? If this doesn't work with this product, what's the next best thing? What's my risk? And so I've always, calculated, okay, if I fall, how big is the fall going to be? Yeah. You just need to know. Right. And so it's served me well, but we're celebrating our 15-year anniversary this year.
I saw that.
It has taken me 15 years to gain that confidence, to be able to confidently go, you're going to be okay. If you're a change maker, you're going to be okay. You're going to figure it out. And, and entrepreneurs have that common thread where we are, I can say, deeply committed, very scrappy workers, like work, network and talk about, and think about, I have a hard time now sometimes having conversations about just regular life things because I'm so immersed in my world.
Same. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I can talk business all day long, and then trying to have conversations about TV shows is very challenging because I don't even watch TV.
Yeah, or the ones that I watch are so embarrassing. Nobody would, because they're
Yes,
brainwashed. It's like to
exactly.
get me to sleep I'll watch it for 10 minutes. I don't even know the characters' names.
Exactly. I hear you. I want to know more about Indeed, the start. Like, I want to know, well, first of all, have you bootstrapped this business, or is it financed, or is it a mix?
It's finance. So I have some equity partners that came on board very early on, same people at the table currently. And the business itself has funded itself in parts as well. And I know the model for growth now. I know how to. I mean, again, 15 years later, I know the timing issues in business. I can gauge, when I need to make an investment in the business, not to have to go back to my investment partners for more funding.
Right.
Like I know better now, that things that I didn't know at the beginning. And to talk about the early days, I didn't know that I was going to be in this business. I was actually thrown into this business when I was doing my consulting work. I was approached by a gentleman by the name of Brendan Truex. A lot of people that know the journey and the original story of Indeed Labs know that I didn't set out to start a skincare brand. It was the late Brendan Truex that approached me and my partners at the time, and we funded it for growth. To start up, and I was on the back end helping with the operations and doing what I was doing, in my consulting work.
And if you don't mind me asking, what was that initial? You said to jumpstart it, you put in your own money. If I understood that correctly, what was that amount? Because I know a lot of founders. I'm getting this question all the time. How much do I need to start a beauty brand? And it ranges, but what's that for you?
Look, you can start a beauty brand at $100,000, $5,000, whatever it costs for you to invest in and tool up for your inventory. We were launching a mass market brand. We were going to go into the mass market. So if you look at, unfortunately, I can't disclose because of the confidentiality. We're a private company. I can't disclose exactly the round of financing that we received early on, or what we funded the business with. But I can say you could do the simple math. If you're launching in, 2,000 stores across Canada, and you need 6 units on shelf, you take your cost, you multiply it by that, plus, the number of doors, and that's your bare minimum. You need that just to start off, right? And that doesn't include your overhead, your staffing, any marketing campaigns. So every time I put new products into market, in fact, actually, I don't even think you know this, but today we just launched these new products. So
I didn't know that.
okay. So today's a big day for us. And
It's
so
a huge day.
it is a huge day. And so launching 3 new SKUs into 3 different markets, that's another investment in this brand. That's another step up, scale up, and hope for the best, from tooling up for the inventory to our marketing strategies to my forecast and plan for over the next 6 months. As you know, in this business, especially when you are dealing with mass retailers.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you,
Products are on consignment. Yeah.
why did you start with mass retailers?
That was our model. So when I met,
Who's that?
This gentleman, he said that he was thinking of starting a skincare brand. And I mean, 15 years ago, obviously the market has exploded now, and there's so many, niche brands out there now, founder brands, but they weren't a norm back then at all. The market was definitely dominated by legacy brands. And so I was frustrated. I had a daughter who was almost a year old. I had some melasma. I went to a dermatologist. He prescribed hydroquinone. I was afraid to use it. It was very serendipitous. To be honest with you, I have no idea how the universe brought this person to me at that moment when I had a need. But all I know is the skies opened up because I had a need and he wanted to do something. And I said, I don't want to start a skincare company. I don't know anything about skincare. But what I will say is, if you do that, can you mix me something that I can use for this? Because it seems that the only person that actually knows anything about ingredients is the dermatologist. Because when I go to the drugstore where I buy my kids' diapers and I ask the beauty advisors, they don't know what's in the products. And I'm trying to figure out, why don't we know what's in products? What is in them? And that's what I said to him. And he said, like, you could see that light bulb went off. He was like, huh. What if we could start a skincare brand that was affordable, that told people what was in them? And I said, well, I don't care. I just want to make this go away. But I also said, because I was starting to be extremely health conscious, really trying to figure out like what I was ingesting. Was like, I was a young mom. I wanted to make sure my kids were healthy. And I said, but also I just want anything that's going to harm me. Like I'm not using anything that's harmful. And this stuff, it sounds scary. It's not even legal in certain parts of the world. The prescription, the dermatologist had given me.
Yeah.
And so that conversation, that's how Indeed Labs was born. And we were going to be a mass market brand. We were going to bring effective, affordable skincare products and make them accessible to consumers everywhere, regardless of their skin type. Because what we did realize through that conversation is everybody's needs are individual. Nobody's skin is identical. And so we did also launched a problem solution brand. So what is your issue? And then I'll treat it, as opposed to that very standard 3-step system that existed in the world back then. You would go to a beauty advisor and they'd say, okay, what's your skin type? Normal, dry, oh, okay, well, 3 steps and then you're good to go. One size fits all. And it didn't work. And so that was the ethos of the brand back then. And we really flipped the industry upside down. We were that one brand that really caught the attention of consumers very early on. We were really lucky because we made very bold claims. And then we launched with Nano Blur.
Which, by the way, I have Nano Blur right here. And I use it.
Camera ready, right?
It's a fantastic product. I love it. Yeah. It's incredible, like what it does.
Thank you. And so innovation and market first has always been Indeed Labs DNA and in everything that we do. And that's also my answer to sustainability. I don't want to bring products to market that already exist. I think if it already exists out there, then we don't need it. A consumer does not need another product that already exists. So either it's going to be a formula that has an ingredient that's not in mass market yet, or a price point, or a component, or something is going to be different about it.
Right. Absolutely.
That's me. And that's why I launched this brand for Gen Alpha, because I saw the trends over the past couple of years, realizing that, and I'm a mom of 3 daughters myself. I couldn't get my kids to wash their face when they were little. And I'm a skincare brand owner.
Absolutely.
And here we are now introducing a younger generation to healthy habits, but then we're afraid to let them use products because there's nothing that's geared to their skin type. And so, and also whatever they are running out to buy, it's not accessible. Mom has to go across the city to buy it at a retailer that might not be close to home. And it's a price point that, mom's already overwhelmed and budgets are very, restricted these days. And so that's my answer to sustainability, is bringing something to market that's very different.
Well, actually, I do want to go back so I want to touch on Finn, and I also want to touch on that first launch of your brand. So let's go full circle because I want to come back to Finn. Talk to me about that first, like launching the brand. Were there any challenges, and what were they, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, many. So Finn was launched under its own label, a different brand, because I didn't think it fit the ethos of Indeed Labs. It wasn't really a good fit for the Indeed Labs branding. Problem solution, ingredient led, colorful packaging. It's an acne system, but it's not only to treat acne. It treats acne through protecting your skin's microbiome, protecting your skin's barrier, and keeping your microbiome intact. So it doesn't have any harmful ingredients in there that will kill the good bacteria that is essential. All the products on the market that are clinically proven to treat acne kill all bacteria. And the more we learn about how important it is to protect the biggest organ that we have from, our skin protects us. It's not just for vanity. It's not just to look good. I believe that it's Mother Nature's way of making us take care of our skin, the vanity part. I do believe that because our skin protects all of our organs. It is our first line of defense, and we are oversensitizing our skin with a lot of stuff that we're using that breaks down our skin's barrier. And that could be responsible for things like eczema, rosacea, acne, for example. So this is a pH balancing system. It basically takes our skin's microbiome and it balances it. And that helps to deal with the overgrowth of the acne-causing strain of bacteria called C. acne. Keeps it at bay.
How did you choose to tackle, I believe most acne products have what is it, benzene?
Benzoyl peroxide.
Benzoyl peroxide. How did you go about building a product without it? And how long did that take of research and development?
That's a good question. So we have our own lab, which is very unique for smaller brands, with two chemists on staff, and one of them who has a PhD in cosmetic chemistry, has been formulating for some of the biggest brands in the world for many, many, many years, has been with us from the beginning. I started to learn about the way our skin functions. I started to read about something called our skin's microbiome. So this is a community of, if you can think of it as like a little army that sits on the surface of our skin and protects our skin. The more I started to read about our microbiome and how essential it is for protecting our skin and creating that barrier, our first line of defense, the more I wanted my scientists to figure it out and figure out a way. And I started reading about its potential in treating acne. So between myself and our chemists and a board certified dermatologist, my chemist created this product or these products. And in theory, they sounded accurate, right? Because acne is formed, it's an overproduction of this strain of bacteria called C. acnes. So your body's defense mechanism just triggers something, and then you start to overproduce sebum. The sebum gets stuck in the hair follicle along with dirt and debris, and then that's how the bacteria grows, and it feeds off of that excess sebum production. So in theory, it's like having like a whole community of viruses, fungus, and bacteria. And somebody comes in, like an extra bit of bad bacteria comes in, well, that's what's wreaking havoc. So in theory, if I get that bad bacteria out, then this should be okay, right? Balancing my pH, that should work, right? So we created products that balance your pH. And then we put them through clinical trials, 3 rounds actually. The first 2 rounds were conducted externally. The third round was conducted by internally. And we just couldn't believe the findings. Like the testimonials were crazy. And then we sent it out for his microbiome certification. So there's no brand in the world that does that has the certification that it does not break down your skin's barrier function. What that means is that you can treat your acne without having any secondary issues. But on top of that, you're not using harmful ingredients like benzoyl peroxide, which now there are more recent studies that are claiming that there are extremely high levels of benzene in benzoyl peroxide, which is a known carcinogen. So the more we learned, so the thing is about other acne treatments are not sustainable. So you might be able to get rid of your acne because it's killing bacteria, but you can't kill bacteria, good bacteria along with the bad, and do that forever. So at some point you have to stop doing it. So it's very revolutionary. It is sustainable, meaning that anybody could use it, not just somebody that suffers from acne, because it's a pH balancing system. So essentially it's just making your skin really healthy, a healthy version of itself, and treating acne at the same time.
Are there any other sort of products on the market from your research that deliver that, impact acne in this way? Or is this truly, one of a kind?
As far as we know from our research, we are one of a kind. We just showed it last year at Cosmoprof, and we had such a buzz at the trade show. And that's because of the way it's formulated so I don't know if there are definitely products out in the market that talk about pH balancing and barrier function and all that stuff. Definitely for sure. But as it relates to clinical backing on acne, so that's where the point of difference is. We put it through 3 rounds of clinicals, not just one. So we do have the clinical backing to prove that we have all kinds of participants that saw a visible reduction in acne, as well as 100% of the participants said that their skin looked brighter, and that they didn't have all of the other side effects that you have with other acne treatments. And because of the fact that it is a pH balancing system, we're able to get that microbiome certification. That I know for sure in all of our research that we've done. And we've been in the market with this now for, I think, almost 2 years, that no one has the microbiome certification.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, it is so exciting. It's extremely innovative. But having said that, you asked me a question about launching it. When we launched it, I launched it under its own brand, which is a big risk because it's introducing a whole new brand to, and not having that strength of your community, and having to reintroduce. So it's like coming back to our beginnings.
Well, and then how did you approach that? Did you talk me through the build up to getting did you build up a new email list for this brand? I imagine.
Yeah, everything right from the beginning. Look, so it's not like we haven't done it before, so I knew exactly who the demographic, what's the audience, what's our messaging going to look like. We built a brand new brand, so we went to an agency, we created a whole new brand. I did a whole marketing campaign. I created a commercial. We were in billboards, bus shelters, so it was like starting fresh. It was like a fresh new messaging. And everything from testimonials to building a new website, all of it. And it's proven to be really successful. Also, it was a different category, right? It's acne. So it's not going under the skincare category, which is a very different category. So that's something that brand owners should be aware of. Like what place, especially if you're going to be in retail, what place, where do you land in that model? That's very important.
And then talk me through the launch of Indeed. And at that time, you didn't know anything about the beauty space. You didn't know, that wasn't your industry, right? So what was like, talk me through like, what were some of the challenges that you faced when you launched Indeed? And, what was that first year like, if you recall?
Yeah. So when we first launched Indeed, we were excited about NanoBlur. I mean, definitely the results with NanoBlur it's like none other in our range. The results are mind blowing. Like people cannot believe the results that you get from NanoBlur. So we knew
that was the first product.
That was the first product that we launched with. And we knew that because we were coming into a market that was going to be very difficult to break into, that we have to have a product that's going to really blow your socks off. And that's exactly what NanoBlur did. But of course, we needed the funding to take the photos, to do the billboards, to do the commercials. It was the same as when I launched Finn. And it's the same as it's not exactly the same as when I launched new products, but the marketing strategy behind it, you still have to look at that full 360-degree marketing plan. You still have to I just had a photo shoot where I had to come up with the campaign, the captions, what are the models going to look like? Who's the audience? It was the same, except we were green back then. We just didn't know as much as we know now.
And what was the thing that ultimately, because I think there's in the media, there's this, people propagate the idea of an omni-channel approach, but that's not necessarily the thing that every brand does. I have brands that do a one-channel approach that are really successful with a one-channel approach, and then it ultimately expand into multiple channels. But when you launched NanoBlur, what ultimately had the biggest impact, if you can recall, in terms of like traffic and conversions? Was there one particular avenue or channel that worked really well for you?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I will say, and in terms of learnings at the time, our caption said, "Look 10 years younger in 10 seconds." So those are learnings. Those are things that we didn't know that regulatory will not allow you to say. So we got a slap on the wrist. We put ads on every billboard in the city. We took a picture, before and after photos of anybody who we could take photos of, and whoever we saw the greatest results, they made it in our ad campaign. And in fact, the girl that was in our ad campaign, she was just a friend of mine. And very early on, our caption was also no airbrush models, no celebrity endorsements, just real people, real results. That was who we were. That's who we are to this day. But we were even back then told that we tried to run ads in some of the industry publications that wouldn't run this ad because she wasn't pretty enough for the ad, they told us at the time. So there was a lot of learnings, but we really disrupted the market. We came in with a very different approach. We were not going to airbrush our models. We were not going to use regular models. We were going to use regular people because this stuff really, really works. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, I think we made a big splash with our PR events because we had made a little bit of a buzz in the media. And so when we did our big PR event in the UK, the media really, like everybody else who was hearing about it, really wanted to come out and see, is this actually real? And again, the market wasn't as saturated back then. So newness and innovation was definitely what the media was really hungry for at the time. So they gave us such a push. Everybody was talking about it.
That's cool. And is it still the bestseller?
No, it's not our bestseller, actually.
What is the bestseller now?
We've had a couple of different, products that have gone viral over the years. A couple of years ago, it was Nano Bronze, our bronzing drops. We were the first bronzing drops that came to market with actives in them. So it was a moisturizing product, a daily moisturizer with bronzing in it. And then we became the drugstore, or we were called the drugstore dupe, but we were essentially the first one that came to market. Our vitamin C brightening drops are one of our top sellers. Our retinol reface, as soon as the consumer realized that they should be using a retinol, it really does the heavy lifting, then we became the one that people gravitated to because we are a trusted brand. So we've had a bunch of different products that have Synoxin, we coined Botox in a bottle. Yeah, so there's quite a few of our product. Our lip is doing really, really well right now because it's all about lips. So when you ask me what our top seller is, it depends on what market that you're in, but those are our top, I would say our top 5 or 6.
Okay. And then in terms of markets, so talk to me about, so you launched initially in like 2,000 retailers. Is that correct?
Initially in I think it was about 2,500 retailers.
Okay. And then eventually you expanded internationally. So talk me through what that looked like. How did you decide it was time to expand a brand globally, and what did it look like?
They approached us actually. Boots in the UK had seen our successes and they approached us, and we were really, really excited to go and speak to them. They picked us up immediately. They gave us a tremendous amount of support. And then they launched us actually in Walgreens through the Boots Walgreens Alliance. And so that was a really, really big deal for us. We pulled ourselves out of the US market soon after that. It was just a really big market for us, and we were not able to wrap ourselves all around it. You have to be really ready for that type of scaling up. And we didn't realize at the time, but we are now in the US again in Ulta and CVS. But yeah, so Boots was our kind of next big deal. And they gave it, like I said, a tremendous amount of support, which is so essential in a retail partner. If you don't have that support coming in the right, right at the right level, right shelf space, having that kind of point of sale support is so important.
100%. So with that first 2,400 doors, what retailer was it?
So here we launched with Rexall first, and then we moved over to Shoppers Drug Mart.
Okay, so was Shoppers Drug Mart the first retailer?
The first big retailer that we launched with, and then we were in Boots in the UK.
Okay, got it. And what did that rollout look like in terms of, you mentioned support, it's a huge investment for entering any kind of big box retailer, whether you have funding or not.
Yeah.
So were you sort of learning on the go and figuring out how did you kind of, number one, do sell through, right? And then sustain those relationships, making sure you're hitting those numbers, those metrics that are required in a big box retailer. Can you talk through a little bit about that?
So what I can say, as being very new to the business, we had to learn as we went along. Onboarding in any of these retailers, it requires a full-time person for a few months. So like onboarding at CVS, for example, the nuances of their businesses, if you don't have that foundation, so you have to hire people that speak that language. So if you're not doing it internally, then you have to find a supplier that actually knows how to navigate that world. And we learned as we went along. One of our partners has been supplying mass grocery retail for many, many years. So lucky for us. And to this day, we know how to navigate the retail landscape really, really well because we have a lot of expertise in it. It's not easy. And if you can't do it, a lot of small brands cannot navigate that world. And I wouldn't suggest that unfortunately, I would not suggest that it's like the best place to be. We started there, but sometimes it's better to build your brand direct to consumer, know your consumer better, really be able to gauge and then scale from there.
Absolutely.
And some of the most successful brands, niche brands in the market today, they did it the opposite way around from the way that we did it. But we did have the knowledge and the foundation and the expertise from our business partner who has been in the business of supplying mass retailers for many, many years.
That's amazing. How did you find that partner?
So Brandon approached us. I was already, so that it was the business that I was in.
Okay.
Yeah,
he was the one that
the one that approached us. So he knew that this is what we were doing.
Okay, understood. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about, as you're, what I see with what you've done with Finn and Indeed is and I think you mentioned this earlier as well, is this constant evaluation, reevaluation of what are the gaps in the market, where's there space, where's there space for innovation and bringing something new that isn't just a repeat of what everything that else is in the market. What do you think, what do you see as the future of skincare and beauty evolving in the next, 5 to 10 years? Where do you think it's going?
AI is going to play a very big role in our industry.
How?
It already has started. Everything from marketing campaigns to back-end operations to even product innovation and product development. AI is already really sweeping in and taking over. And so we're definitely in a really rapid growth phase of our business, and really understanding which AI tools are going to be most helpful and which are gimmicky and you don't need, but certainly, understanding. I mean, it's a next level of tech efficiency is the only way I'd call it, especially for our business and what we're seeing in the potential. I'm just going to give you a small example of that. And we could all relate to this. Everybody can relate to this. 5 years ago, I had to hire copywriters for $250 an hour just to create any thought and writing copy for social media was the most daunting task. And yet now, you could throw your original thought into an editing tool called ChatGPT. I call it an editing tool. I don't ever want it to give original thought. But for my team, my young writers, it has made life so much easier. So that's just a small example of being able to use a tech tool, use the tool, because a lot of people say, I'm not using ChatGPT. Well, or any AI tool. You should be navigating it. Those are tools that are going to make your life so much easier. And even if you're using ChatGPT, for example, as kind of our new Google, our new search engine, there are tools that are going to make your life so much easier, and you're just going to be a really an 8 part of your day. This is what you do. But being afraid to use them and not embracing them and understanding them and learning them fast enough, I think is going to be a challenge for those who are not jumping.
Yeah, what I'm hearing a lot in our industry and other industries is the leaning of teams, the streamlining of teams as a result of AI, which I think is, makes operations a lot easier. Have you found that to be the case as well, where you don't feel like you need as many people to do, the work that you do? Or
not necessarily, because especially when you focus so much on innovation and being first to market. So for me, the creative aspect of my business is definitely you're always going to have to stay one step ahead. So not really, no. We still need the people that are going to bring those fresh new ideas. Remember, AI is only capable of so much right now.
Right.
It's not thinking for itself just yet. So if it's out there, we don't want it. But definitely, I think in the future, especially as it relates to things like graphic design and marketing campaigns, like I think that's going to definitely require, even photography, all that kind of stuff, definitely require a lot less of the production work that we're currently doing.
So in terms of that innovation and that innovative angle, is that a thread throughout how you've always looked at things, where it really needs to have that point of difference? Is this something that you grew up with as when you were a young girl? Was that something you values that you were taught in terms of challenging the status quo?
I wasn't taught that. I think that's just the way I was. I grew up in a very traditional Greek home, with a very traditional Greek mom and Greek family. And no disrespect, of course, I love my family. They mean everything to me, and it was through their encouragement and to this day that I'm able to do what I do and feel confident about it. But I was definitely different. I was always on my own with my own thoughts and my own ideas, and so I think that's where the risk taker part comes in. I love. And I'm going to be the first to admit that I love to draw inspiration from others. I'm not necessarily so creative that nothing in my head has ever existed, but I'm able to take and draw inspo from and come up with creative ideas that then I could spin into my own. And I didn't know that I had a creative side to me, because I thought that I was just a numbers person. I thought I was very strong with my financial capabilities, and here I was then designing, a room in my house or for my daughter's bedrooms, and throwing these parties. Like I just created this video yesterday for Valentine's Day talking about an idea that I had for Valentine's Day one year, where me and my daughters, a mom at the school, she was taking a photography course. She asked me if I could be one of her models. I said, well, it's actually almost Valentine's Day. Can I bring my kids along, and can we take some photos if we bring the props so that we can give these cards to dad for Valentine's Day? And one of my youngest daughter, one of the photos we took of her, we put a heart in her jean pocket, and she turned around and she looked at the camera. And when I was looking at the proofs, it was such a cute photo that instead of going out and buying Valentine cards, the regular stock cards that everyone buys, I decided to design this card, and she was young enough to not be weirded out by it. She let me give everyone in her class this creative card of her with this Valentine in her pocket. And a lot of the kids kept that card. Like, it was just such a creative thing. So I would come up with these ideas, even for my kids' birthday parties. But people would say to me, "You're so creative." And I'd say, "No, I'm not. I like numbers." And I think I just come up with ideas. I draw inspo and then I just go for it. I don't know.
You just go for it. I like it. So I wanted to move forward on to you started talking about teams and, how, you still need those strategic minds and those creative minds as part of the team. Tell me more about building and leading, high performing teams, because I think that's a skill in and of itself. Like, how big is the Indeed team, and the Fin team? Like, how big are the teams? And, are you leading the team? Like, what's your involvement? What's your sort of leadership style? Or talk to me about that, because I think that becomes a huge struggle for businesses.
It can be. Yeah, it can be. And although I heard something recently about Elon Musk and how he operates his businesses, and that he knows every aspect of his business. He goes in and he tries to solve a problem. And I think that I could describe myself in the same way. I like to know every aspect of our business. I feel, and I say this to my leadership team, nobody's coming in here to save your life. If you don't speak their language, then you won't know what they're doing and you won't be able to lead them properly. So I feel very, very strongly that it's very important to know as much about your business as you possibly can. Are you going to call me a digital expert? Absolutely not. Digital marketing is very complicated, but absolutely, I want to be on those calls. And I definitely know the small nuances that make a difference in that world. As I said, in formulation, I know about ingredients, I know about trends. So my scientists are not just coming to me because they're scientists, right? They don't know consumer behavior. So I know what consumers want. You need to be involved in every aspect of your business to know your business, but you can't micromanage. I rarely sit in front of my computer. I mentioned today, I rarely sit in front of my computer to actually you'll never see me creating a spreadsheet anymore. I paid my dues. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I do a lot of the creative direction. I know what's going on in the business. So the big decisions have to be run by me. I have a model. I'm a very early riser. I have my rituals in the morning that keep me sane and also keep me balanced, I think, and help
What are they?
focus. What are they?
Yeah.
So I start off my morning. I plank for 6 minutes every day. I sometimes meditate through my plank, but I do like to meditate for at least 5 or 6 minutes. I walk for a good 2.5 hours. Or if I can't walk, then I'll do a workout class. It's not until I finish those rituals that I can actually even speak to the world. That's my time in the morning. And that's when I draw my greatest inspiration. I write poetry in the morning. If it's my barometer, if I can't write a poem and if I can't complete my thought, then I know that I'm inundated and I'm too in the weeds. So I need to come back out of it, because
Interesting.
it doesn't serve the business well if I can't be creative, because I really need to be change quickly and be on top of trends. And that's really, really important. So that's what I have developed in my daily routine to gauge, am I okay? And if I can't do that, then I'll say, you know what, guys, it's too much right now. I need to take a step back. Let me marinate. I was talking about my gut instinct. There are many times where I can't give a read on something, so I won't. And my team knows that I will not respond to that email yet, or that text message, or can you approve this? Or I'll, walk out of a meeting and I'll say, I'm not ready yet. I can't make a decision until I feel very strongly.
Yes.
Again, not to hold up the process, but I need a minute to feel
Of
it.
course.
Yeah, especially when it
Of course.
requires a big. If I don't feel it, I don't move. I just can't, and that serves the business really, really well, because And my team knows, okay, just give her a minute. She's thinking on it. And sometimes it'll come to me like in the middle of the night or something like that.
Yes.
And very crystal clear, actually. It'll come to me so crystal, like, oh my God, how did I not think of that? Well, of course, because there's too many things going on at the same time.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I need a minute. Some people, I can make decisions quickly, but I need a minute oftentimes just to process for a moment. Like, I'm a quick decision maker, but the decision is made because I was able to just take in the information or the input in order to, put it back out there. So I can 100% agree with or understand that. What advice would you give to aspiring female entrepreneurs who are either looking to get into this business or are on their way? Maybe they're I'm just thinking about my seven-figure brand, my multi-six-figure, seven-figure brands that are making their way, and they are, they've been in business for maybe a few years. What advice would you give them? Like, what are some things that you feel like, if only I'd known this, or this would really be a great tool or good information for up and coming founders?
I think in life in general, like I said, it can be a lonely place when you're that creative thinker, and second guessing yourself, I think can be dangerous. I think the best advice I could give is if you feel so strongly about something, then take a minute to get yourself organized and have your argument ready so that you can present your case, because we all know the old saying, you miss every shot you don't take. And so that's the first thing. So not actually just taking that risk. There's been many times where I felt catatonic. I was too afraid to go for it because I knew, but as a female in business, I'm too nice. I don't want to hurt someone's feelings. I don't want to offend somebody. What if I am wrong? And then, they were so strongly, advising me against it.
Yes.
And I don't want to look stupid. Like, don't worry about that. Who cares? We all make mistakes. And the other thing is, this is the one thing that I've also led my life with, learning the hard way. If I make a decision about something that I feel so strongly about, and I'm going to take that risk, then as I said earlier, I know what my fallout's going to be if it doesn't work. So I can live with myself if I make a mistake, because that's called life. But I can't live with myself when I have somebody else tell me what to do and I didn't do what I thought was right. That's when I get really mad at myself. I knew I should have done that. Why didn't I just trust myself? Why did I let them talk me out of it? Why? And my team knows that as well. If it's my guys, I often say, guys, please, I've asked you to do this. Just please run with it and don't worry about it. Because if it doesn't work out, I'm the one who's going to be mad at myself, but probably not. But if you make me do something that you don't know 100% for certain going to work, I'll probably be mad at you, or not. Do you know what I mean? Like, 'cause sometimes they'll go, no, no, no. And I'll say, please just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to give you an example of that.
Yeah, please.
The one almost biggest regret that I've had in my business, it was TikTok. It was before beauty brands were on TikTok.
Mm.
And my daughter back then was 13 years old, my youngest daughter. It was the two of us at home alone. And we were dancing in front of this platform because it was a way of mom and my 13-year-old daughter to connect at the time. And I went into my office and I said to my team of 20-year-olds, we should try to get onto this platform. And they said, what is it? And I said, TikTok. And they looked at it and they said, no, we don't really know what that is. It's like a dancing platform. There were no skincare brands on it.
What?
The opportunity for us was enormous. And I couldn't get them to come up with something outside. Because remember, TikTok at the beginning was all really about these dances, right?
Right.
I couldn't convince them. It took me about 6 months. And, we tried to do a little video. The one that I wanted was more disruptive. They were like safe. I still remember the first time it was huge news when the first skincare brand launched on TikTok, their own account. And we missed that opportunity of being that first brand. And it wasn't just that one fleeting moment. It wasn't because I wanted that title of the first brand. It was because the opportunity for virality on TikTok back then was enormous. First to market on TikTok was enormous at the time.
So did you fire that person who told you?
No,
No.
no, I didn't fire them, but I basically said, look, guys, if I ask you to do something, you need to trust my instinct, period. And they know. And people that don't trust your leadership, they won't stay anyway.
That's true.
They
And
will not stay. And people that think you're crazy, they won't stay around you. And people will think you're crazy sometimes. They will because it's tough. Staff don't have the same challenges of your whole life on the line, everything that you worked for. As a single mom, supporting 3 daughters, putting them through university and supporting this brand, being on the road all the time, leaving my kids sometimes with my sister to take care of them and knowing financially the burden,
mhm.
that it's a constant thing. And believing in it so strongly that I think anybody can tell. I think you could probably tell in just talking to me today how strongly and how passionate I am about this.
Mm,
The idea of it not working it's not something that I can even wrap my head around. It has to work.
well, yeah,
Sometimes,
absolutely. I think,
you know,
yeah, absolutely. And then in terms of your team, do you have a particular operating system that you use? Because I know some companies have they use Rockefeller or EOS, or do you guys kind of just have your own? You
we
just
have
kind
our own
of
proprietary system that we
your
use. Yeah. Yep. And it's not tech savvy. Like we're not the most tech savvy people. We are nimble and scrappy. And trust me when I tell you, I do things on a very small budget. That for anyone who's listening today needs to know you can get things done if you are super creative on a budget. That I don't think that should deter people from being and following their dream. If you really want something, you can figure out how to do it. If you're already there, then you're already probably figuring it out. We don't have the budgets of the huge brands, but my
Yeah,
marketing
of
campaigns
course.
look like we do. They really do. My launch video the other day that was created in house by my team of people, and it looks like a world class production.
So do you do your marketing in house then?
Yes, definitely. We do a lot of it, a PR. We do full service in house. We do everything. I have a content studio in Toronto. So I have a full content
Amazing.
studio that we
Very
bring content
cool.
creators in also to use our space. Yeah. I also give back to community. I don't know if you know this, but I was honored with Businesswoman of the Year, Women Empowerment, because I
That's
do like to
amazing.
yeah.
Congratulations.
So thank you. So what I'm most passionate about in my career, in my business, is helping other entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs. If I can impart something and help someone follow their dream, or even just give them some encouragement, because every single day is difficult when you're in this business and you're doing it alone. I love to be able to do that if I can. So I created this content studio, and it's a space for content creators to come in and collaborate and stretch themselves out of their comfort zone. I see the magic happening when creators come together. And so I had this idea to create this content space, and that's where we was Indeed Labs. That's where all of the magic happens.
Love that. And do you do any kind of do you ever join masterminds, or do you ever do any kind of coaching or do you?
Definitely, I participate wherever I can on panels, speaking. That takes up a lot of my time. I was just invited to McGill University to speak, although unfortunately I couldn't. I had another meeting that I had to go to in the UK at the very last minute. But those are the kinds of things, speaking on entrepreneurship, on empowerment. I love doing that.
And do you get coached too?
No, I've never been coached.
No.
I just shoot by the hip. I don't know. I say what I say. No, I've never been coached. No.
And you've never done? Oh my gosh, that's
I've never
amazing.
had media training. I've been on television commercials. I actually produced my own television commercial one time. I don't know. I think, you know what? You just learn. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But biggest part of, I think what I love most about my job is connecting with community. And community teaches me that I can see the eyes in the room when I'm being very honest with people about how difficult my journey was. I can see the feedback that I get from these young aspiring entrepreneurs or young students or young business, especially women. I could see that they're shaking their heads and they're looking at me. And you know what? I'm just being honest. I'll tell them as much as I possibly can, but I won't give them all of the bad stuff because I don't want to discourage anybody.
Yeah, of
If I could
course.
survive, I've said before, if I could do this, anybody can. You know this in this business, especially a mass market brand competing on shelf against some of the biggest brands in the world, across the world, and some of the biggest retailers. This is no short of a miracle. I don't know how I got here. I just know that every single day I wake up and I put one foot in front of the other and I just keep going. And I love what I do.
I love that. I think that has a big part. That's a big part of it. A couple more questions. You mentioned like challenges. What can you give us an example of one challenge that you've had over the years that you had to figure something out and how to get through it or over it?
I think definitely the financial part is really hard to navigate all the time, especially if you're in a business where there's a timing issue, So I think I have it down to a science now. It is a model that, the difference between sell in, sell through. Sell in gives you an injection of capital. That's when you launch. That's when your launch strategy comes out because so again, self-funding, that's the injection of capital that I need to be able to do what I do, especially on the marketing side. So I think, just like not knowing when's my next big sell in. And then sell through, for whoever is listening and doesn't know the difference between sell in and sell through, the only way that I can really easily explain it is sell in is sales, sell through is marketing.
I like that. That's a really nice way of putting
sell
it.
in is that check you get in the bank. Sell through is getting that product off the shelf, which is speaking to the consumer an entirely different language. And the reality is, in this world, to remain relevant, if you're ever looking for exit, you need to make sure that your sell through rate is the most important thing you're looking at.
Oh, such cool.
Yeah, especially because especially in mass market, your products are on shelf on consignment. So investing in inventory is the riskiest thing you can do when your inventory becomes obsolete in 2 years. Clock
Absolutely.
starts ticking. So that, those are, again, I could give you those pieces of information. I don't know how high level this is for people that are listening, but if you've gotten to that point where you're thinking scale up, remember, the only other business that's more complicated probably than ours is food, right? That's why investors didn't want it because inventory becomes obsolete.
Yes.
So if you don't have a plan to get that inventory off the shelf, which is called sell through marketing, then I suggest you take a cold, hard look at should I tool up for this, including, which is what I started off with, knowing who your customer is, not just knowing who they are, not knowing, not having it, for example, my Gen Alpha, knowing, okay, ages 13 to 20, they're young, da da da.
Yeah, of course. Not just
what makes them tick.
Correct.
The why is the most important part. The why, not just the what. The
Absolutely.
why.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So once you know the why, then you need to take a step back and go, okay, am I the person that is my speech going to be enough to get them to trigger that why? And also, and I think if you have good intentions, I really do. I'm getting a little bit of backlash for launching for a Gen Alpha line, and I don't care because I know as a mother that I did this because I had daughters that I couldn't get them to wash their face.
100%.
Don't you think that as a brand I think as a brand and as a mom and as somebody that cares about community, this is the best thing that could have done for you guys. But anyway, so those are the elements that are so incredibly important once you get your brand off the ground. Because a lot of people get so excited with the sell in. Oh my God, I just got listed at Sainsbury's. Oh my God. And I'm like, okay, that is good. We need to talk because now is when you need to strap in and start doing some serious work.
Yeah, like dig deep. Like now's the time to dig deep. And who would you say in like one, in one sentence or less, who would you say is your target customer? Like, how did you figure, like, who is that? Like, what is their why or why are they, like, what are they really, what's that pain point that you're addressing for them?
Yeah, that's so good. That's such a good question. So it's definitely not a demographic. It's more psychographic. So it's for sure male, female, more mature consumer, younger consumer. It's definitely that person in their peer group that wants to have the most current stuff, is frugal, wants to buy it at a good price. Is that person that's going to say to you, oh, these shoes, oh yeah, I know they're fashionable, but I got them at a good price. That person,
Gotcha.
that's our demographic. That person that is a little bit of the authority, the person that people look up to. It's going to be that leader in their group. They want the coolest new things, but they want to have a little bit of a secret. So, no, I'm not going to buy that label. I'm going to tell you where to go get it real good at a real good price.
Yes, yes,
That's
yes,
my
yes.
consumer. And it
I
doesn't
love
matter
that.
what age. I see it across the board. I have men whose eyes open up when I say to them, I got to give you my exfoliator. Really? I haven't used anything. And I'm like, use it and tell all your friends about it. So it's definitely that person that's going to be a little bit of a risk taker, a little bit out there,
I like that.
but not a demographic necessarily.
I like that. And for the founders who are listening who are thinking, well, what if like I may want to get funding? Any advice for them? What does that process look like? Is there sort of a specific metric they need to reach in order to seek out funding? What is your advice?
Well, I would say that definitely, again, the business plan is very important. Put together your pitch deck, and you have to tailor your pitch deck to whoever you're speaking to. Certainly, of course, you're going to want to really showcase the brand and highlight what the point of difference is. Why would somebody want your brand over anything else out there? So, of course, showcasing who your consumer is, and it's not just enough. Like, for example, I was saying we're first to market, but we're first to market in mass market. This might be something that's existed already in luxury, but that's not my market, right? So, you've got to know your market. And then I definitely think if you raise funds, then you should raise funds through somebody who's going to invest in the jockey, who really believes in you. Because if they don't believe in you and they give you money, then they're just going to be questioning every single thing you do. And the next time you need a round of financing, you might not have the luxury the next time around to go out there and hustle the way you have. It's again, a timing issue. You're going to have a retailer that's going to say, and they don't give you a lot of notice. They'll go, oh my God, I love your innovation. You got to have it on my shelf in 8 weeks, because they still deal with you like they're dealing with one of the bigger brands.
Of course.
And you need to go and tool up. So you're going to need money. You're going to need to have investors at the table that believe in you, that know that you can do this, because you won't have the time to go and raise money then what? So partner with the right people. Make the decisions that feel best in your gut. If you have to say no to a retailer because their fees are too high, their model is too complicated, their consumer is not your consumer, then take a step back and go, well, should I really be there? Because otherwise my products are going to collect dust on the shelf. It's going to jeopardize the brand because the perception is going to be not so great. And that's why I said the shelf space is so important. If they're pushing you down, then the perception to the consumer is that your brand is not thriving. Who wants to buy a product that's at the bottom shelf? If it's not eye level.
Right, absolutely.
And those variables really impact the success of your business. And then you're stuck with product that comes back to you. And it's not necessarily saleable good. It doesn't come back in a condition that you sent it out in. Now what? So really, those are a lot of the things that you should really consider. If it takes you a little bit longer to get where you need to go, but doing it the right way, that's always been my philosophy.
Mine too.
Get there the right way.
Mine too, 100%. And then tell me what Finn. Where can I find Finn? Where can we find it for those, for our audience who, might be moms? We have a lot of moms and, people who struggle with acne. Where can they find Finn?
Definitely. Finn is available across the country at Shoppers Drug Mart, as well as direct to consumer. So we sell it on .com, we sell it on Amazon, and we sell it Amazon in the US as well.
Amazing. And what are the websites for both?
Finskin.com, finskin.ca, and Indeed Labs, indeedlabs.com, and indeedlabs.ca.
Amazing. And what's your favorite product? What's your favorite? Yeah, I know Finn's new, but what's your favorite? I guess what's your favorite Indeed product?
So hard for me to say. Every single one of the products has a story behind it and how, I decided to bring it to market. I would say I think Nano Blur is the most unique product for sure. Like I don't use Botox on my forehead, and there's no lines because of the Botox. Especially on high definition, it's such a great product.
It really is amazing.
Such a good product. And people always ask me, who's your Botox? And not that I have anything against it. It's just, you can see, I just don't need it because I use Nano. And then Synoxin. peptides. Like for 15 years, I've been using peptides day in and day out. I'm 56 years old. I'm turning 57 this year. And I can honestly say that it's because of the peptides every single day, morning and night.
That's amazing. Okay. So everyone's going to run and go get their Nano Blue and Synoxin.
Definitely, you should. And use it
Yeah.
every day. You'll thank me in 10, 15 years from now. We shouldn't have to wait that long. But also, they have something instant in them as well, XCP18, which really helps with that. It's kind of, we call it, again, the Botox in the bottle.
I'm so excited for you. So I'm so excited for Finn. And I think this is a long time coming. We needed this kind of product. So really great that it's on the market, that is accessible. What's the price point?
The kit is $84.99 for that's 3 products. So like the 3 together are, and it's a 60-day system. So the value of the product is amazing. None of the acne treatments, by the way, are more than 30 to 45 days. So it's a 2-month system.
Fantastic.
Thank you for advocating, because that's one of my biggest frustrations in this industry right now is how we're sweeping these studies under the carpet. And yes, they haven't been peer reviewed yet. I get it. But where there's smoke, there's smoke. You know what I mean? And I can tell you, we all know that you cannot, regardless of the benzene or no benzene, you can't use benzyl peroxide for extended periods of time. It says it right on the bottle, because it's actually killing all good bacteria. That we know. So I don't know why no one's questioning this. We should be questioning. And then the idea that there has been an independent study that has proven that there's such high levels of benzene, it's alarming. And we're not taking action. As quickly as all those articles came out, they were swept under the carpet and away they went. Why are we not talking about it?
I'm very curious. Did you create this product before those articles came out or after?
Well before. I had acne as a young girl.
Okay.
And
So you
I
knew.
have a story. Every one of my products has a story, but quickly, if we have a minute, I'll tell you the story. When I was younger, I had acne. I used a 3-step system. I thought my face was I thought it was lightening. And back then, you're so young. We didn't talk about skincare back then. So I thought, is this do I look like I'm lighter on my face than the rest of my body? I went to my dermatologist about another issue I had, and he tried to sell me a cleanser. And I said, well, I can't because I'm using this. And I told him what I was using, and he said, you can't, how long have you been using it for? I said, about 1.5 years. He goes, you can't. He goes, don't you know that benzyl peroxide is bad for you? You can't be using it for extended periods of time. So fast forward, I'm in the skincare business. The main concern that people have, especially when they have younger kids, is acne. But I don't feel in good conscience to bring a product to market with benzyl peroxide, knowing what I knew, what I found out when I was a young kid. And so that's when I started studying microbiome. That's when I started studying there must be something else.
Yeah.
How is acne formed? Like, why is acne, and it's triggered by different variables. It could be hormonal, it could be stress, it could be diet, it could be genetics, but it's formed the same way. It's an overproduction of our natural oil gland. And when that oil gland is triggered and overproduces, then this acne causing strain of bacteria that lives within our microbiome anyway feeds off of it and multiplies. And that's when it starts to wreak havoc. So then I started saying to my scientists, well, then if there's no excess sebum production and it doesn't then that won't happen, right? And that's when we started developing a product to balance your pH so that your sebum production is intact. It's not overproduced.
I get it. That's fascinating.
When it happened, in theory, and we started getting people to all my products, by the way, go through consumer trial, and everything starts with me first. My team brings me stuff, and I start using it first. And if I like it, I usually have like 12 to 18 products, and then like 3 make the next level. I like it. Okay, let's take it to the next level. I started doing consumer trials, and then I started putting this through clinical trials. And when I was getting the reports, they were so amazing that I couldn't believe it myself. I was like, we need to conduct this ourselves. I don't know if this is accurate or true. We just need to figure it out. So we brought all these people in. I never met them until after the trials were over. And when we brought them all in to do our consumer focus group right before we launched the brand, I said, guys, we're here today. I want to hear everything that you guys can tell me about these products, this brand. What is, give it all to me. And they raised their hands and they said, where can we find more? This changed our lives.
Oh my gosh.
That's the testimonials.
Incredible.
Yeah, it is
I
incredible.
have someone that I need to get this product to because she's been struggling.
Yeah. So that's the story of Finn. And thank you for advocating for it because it is a big deal and it doesn't have the same following that Indeed Labs has, right? And acne is such an emotional journey for people. Getting them off of something that's bad for them, they don't care.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I have another person that I'm just thinking of all
I'm
these
going to
people
send it
that
to
I
you. We'll send you some. I send you an email and I'll send you some. You can give it to people.
Yes.
Just have them review it for me after and tell them there is a purging process with any acne treatment. Even if you go on Accutane, you're going to purge first. So stay on it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I have a couple of people that I need to get this product to them. This is amazing. Thank you so much, Dimitra, for sharing all your wisdom, sharing your journey with our audience. And it was a pleasure.
It was such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a wrap. Until our next episode of the Beauty and the Brand podcast, thank you everyone for joining us. If you have any thoughts, feedback on this episode, please share with us and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.